Hi, welcome back to another Stand on Guard episode. Back again this week as promised to talk about a couple of things, and I'll let you know what that's all about in just.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
So yes, we're back, and like Sasha, my cat, always demonstrates, ring that bell and like us right away if you haven't already done so. It helps us beat that YouTube formula, the logarithm that's always in the way. Because I'll tell you, the last broadcast you might recall was all about how Dave Menzies of the Rebel got assaulted by an RCMP security guard working for Chrystia Freeland and all of the outrage over that. Well, that story really was put on the back burner. And the numbers just grow slowly increasing. I think there's something going on there. Well, if you like this broadcast, you beat that algorithm. Did I say logarithm? It's algorithm. You beat the YouTube algorithm. And please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're way over 15,000 now. We're headed for 20,000. Hope to get there in a couple of months. But thank you for your support. And thank you so much for watching this station and being a part of this community. I'm wearing this Resolve to Resist. These will be on sale within the next 4 weeks. This is a prototype I'm wearing. So once again, I appreciate your comments. I'm wearing it today because I'm doing a story about the German farmers. But before I get there, I want to do a little bit of an update on David Menzies, my old friend from the Rebel. We used to work together at the now defunct Sun News, which was broadcasting out of Toronto. And oh my goodness, 2012, I guess. Yeah, 12 years ago now. So yeah, he was always a dynamic reporter. But watch how the legacy media has covered this whole incident here. This is CBC, and it's typical of the mainstream media. And I'll tell you what really gets under my skin.
The RCMP is facing criticism for arresting a man who identified himself as a journalist. David Menzies works for Rebel News. He tried to ask the Deputy Prime Minister some questions yesterday in Richmond Hill, Ontario, when the arrest happened. The CBC's Kate McKenna is following the story in Ottawa, and she joins us now live. So, Kate, what can you tell us about this incident?
Well, Andrew, this is a video that's making quite a splash online. The video shows David Menzies approaching Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland yesterday in Ontario. It was captured on video by Rebel News.
Identifies as a journalist? I don't believe this. What is that? Like a new transgender or something? It identifies as a journalist. No, he is a journalist. I don't care if you don't like the station or the network or the media outlet he works for. I don't care, CBC, if you don't like Rebel News. But Dave Menzies is a journalist, and he's a gutsy journalist. He's not afraid to poke his microphone in the face of the rich and powerful and to ask very uncomfortable questions. And my God, he's tracked stories about the Southern Ontario teacher who was wearing the fake breasts. He covered that story. He went to the school board meetings. He got hauled out of there. Couldn't get any answers from the school board members. Kept trying to get answers. Kept asking questions. He recently tracked a guy in his 50s who insists upon undressing in a girl's change room at a pool. Once again, that takes guts and courage to go out and do that. That's what journalists are supposed to be doing. So yes, Dave Menzies has done a lot of comedy in the past. He's done some stunts, but my God, he's done his share of hyper serious journalism, and he's a journalist. My God, he's more of a journalist than these CBC people who sat on their offices throughout the Freedom Convoy because it was too damn cold to go outside of their offices. They didn't want to get their fingers cold holding their iPhones and their microphones. And it just amazes me that they've got the gall to say that David Menzies identifies himself as a journalist. And other broadcast media and other media are saying he's a commentator, he's an employee. In fact, I think the CBC guy used employee as well. Or he's a personality. And I think it really is great. It's grating, and it really gets under my skin because this is this typical snob attitude, the snobbish attitude of the mainstream media in this country. And get off your high horse. Support this guy. Because if it can happen to Dave Menzies, it can happen to you at the exalted CBC and the exalted Global News or CTV or the Globe and Mail. It can happen there too. If we don't get outraged about this and stop mincing words and stop splitting hairs about whether Dave Menzies is a real journalist because he works for Rebel News. I'm writing a piece about this for the Post Millennial because I really want to explore this high on your horse attitude of the legacy media. And it's in Canada, it's in the US. You work for independent or new media, you're suddenly a second or third class member of the press corps or the media or the journal or journalism in general. And I'm sure, I used to work for legacy media, but I'm sure there are people out there who say, Krayden, he works for the Post Millennial, he works for Human Events, he works for the Epoch Times. Those aren't like the real media. Those are new media. So, he's not a real journalist, even though I went to Carleton School of Journalism. Yeah. Many years ago. That's the point I wanted to lead off with. What's really going on in the world today, which fascinates me, is this protest in Germany. It's the German farmers are saying enough is enough is enough. And let's listen to my friend, Clayton Morris, who led off Redacted with this on Monday.
Hundreds of tractors for as far as the eye can see, all the way down from the Brandenburg Gate, all the way to the other side, and through the other side of the Brandenburg Gate, tractors and protesters on that side. This is going to be a very busy day here in Berlin, trying to get the message out that no farmers, no food. You're going to hear a lot of that today. A lot of the Western media has tried to portray these protesters as far-right extremists. Behind me here, you can see the Associated Press is doing interviews here. The German media also doing interviews. Of course, in the coverage over the past few days, they've been painting these folks as extremists, far-right extremists, similar to Trump supporters. And of course, the protesters and farmers I've spoken to have said that is ridiculous. We're not far right. We are realists. We realize that our taxes have gone up. Our prices for fuel have gone up. We can't run our business. We are not far right extremists. But that's how the Western media portrays these folks.
Yeah. Now, did you get a sense of deja vu seeing those tractors lined up like that and seeing how cold it was? This is in Berlin. This is this week in Berlin. And it's early January, getting to mid-January. What does that remind you of? The Freedom Convoy. I was almost cold watching that broadcast. I was one of those journalists, unlike the people at CBC, CTV, and Global, who were not out there every day talking to real people, talking to the protesters, but sitting in their offices and participating in these talking head interviews where everybody agrees that this is just a terrible thing. I was out there freezing, and I almost got frostbite. I always tell people that I almost got frostbite. It was so cold in late January, early to mid-February, while the Freedom Convoy was in full swing. And of course, Clayton is out there, and he told me offline it was cold. And he also noted to me in a email exchange just what he said there is that the same accusations that were made by Justin Trudeau against the Freedom Convoy, that these people are misogynistic, racist, fringe And my God, Trudeau and his minions went as far as to compare them to Nazis. Yeah. And he was the one who invited a Nazi to the House of Commons for 2 standing ovations. I just always have to mention that every time I mention Trudeau and Nazi in the same breath. But of course, that is exactly what the German establishment is calling these farmers. They're far right farmers because they're complaining about the high cost of living. Now, what are they complaining about specifically? High taxes, carbon taxes like we have in this country on diesel fuel, which they need. They're really upset about the fact that Germany, like all European Union countries, is coming down hard on farmers for using fertilizer, too many animals, too much farmland. It's creating all kinds of nitrogen in the fertilizer. They have to use less of it, produce less food. And what's the result of that? Well, ultimately, it's going to mean less food in the supermarket. Because, I don't think you need to be a farmer to appreciate the fact that the food just doesn't magically appear in the supermarket, in the grocery stores, in the delis. It just doesn't magically appear. A farmer has to produce it by growing it or raising the cattle and the pigs and the sheep and everything else that goes into in the chickens, to producing meat and poultry and other such things and other vegetables and the fruits that we eat. Farmers make it, they grow it, they produce it. It just doesn't come from nowhere. And the less they're producing, the less we're going to be able to get in the stores. And that creates shortages and scarcity. It tempts governments like the insane government we have in Canada talk about price controls, which of course will hit the farmers and make it more difficult for them to produce food because it'll increase their cost, because the middleman and the stores will pass on the price controls to the farmers because they say, well, we're not making enough. We got to charge more. We got to give the farmers less if we can't charge more. And that's exactly what will happen. So the farmers are in this vice. On the one hand, you've got the environmental climate change extremists who want to basically shut down agriculture because they think it's creating more of a carbon footprint. It's creating more greenhouse gases. So therefore, we should starve in order to arrest climate change. And the other half of the vice is the globalists at the World Economic Forum who don't want you to have food. They want you to starve. They want to reduce the population. They want to control the population through food shortages. You don't have enough food? We'll take care of you. We'll just make sure you start eating insects. They won't know there won't be, you won't have steak, T-bone steak? No. Barbecue chicken? No, that's luxury. We don't do that anymore. Let's look at insects and bugs for a staple diet. And that's where the WEF is coming from in all this. Now, have you ever asked yourself, why is this all happening at the same time? I mean, we're going through the same material here in Canada. Farmers, my God, I wish they'd get upset, but they are at least starting to push back on the carbon tax and saying we can't afford to run a farm. And the price it costs giving the government taxes to heat our farms and our barns and our homes. Can't afford to do it. Can't afford to run our tractors because the carbon tax. Now they're pushing back, but they haven't yet pushed back on all of the regulations that stops them from using pesticides, for instance. I remember former Agriculture Minister Jerry Rich telling me how many rules and regulations the Trudeau government has enacted to make farming as difficult a profession, as difficult a livelihood as possible. They've done everything possible to make it difficult. And now, of course, they've come down heavy on agriculture and in terms of fertilizer. And they're saying, well, you've got to use less fertilizer. In fact, you've got to cut it by 30% by 2030. That's 6 years away now. So they've got 6 years to cut their fertilizer by 30%. And that's going to mean food shortages. It means Canada won't be even able to export its food. Now, I've got some interviews that were conducted here by my friend, Eva Vlar Dingerbroek. She is a Dutch political analyst and a lawyer as well, and a brilliant woman. And and she was recently in Ottawa along with Christine Anderson to address an event that I also spoke at. I had a chance to meet Eva, and it's just a fantastic experience. But she's got an interview here that I really want you to watch because it really explains why German farmers have had enough.
We are always prepared, yeah. And this is the most frequent highway in Germany.
The most used highway in Germany?
Actually, in Europe, to be honest.
Oh wow!
A2. So it's not normal to stand here, but no, we are sick of lies. We are sick of trying to get rid of our jobs. It's not only farmers. It's the lorry drivers. It's the normal workers. Everybody is sick of politicians who have no idea what they're talking about, who have no education to tell us how our lifestyle should look like. And this is the result of 4 years trying to get in contact with politicians, talking to them on an equal level, but they won't listen. And now we have no other choice than to demonstrate, and it's our right.
Yes.
It's one of the highest rights, especially in Germany,
yeah.
To demonstrate. We are not violent. This is all friendly. You can see we have a small gap in people can drive through. Police, ambulances, everybody can come through. But this is only the tip of the iceberg, to be honest. Because all over in Germany this is the West. We have Dutch farmers coming over to support us. In the East we have Hungarian farmers, Polish farmers. And we are all united in getting rid of politicians who are trying to get rid of us.
Right. Yeah, so I was very active in the Dutch farmers protest. And I remember I said a few years ago, guys, pay attention because this is going to be a global issue. There's a global attack on farming. You are describing the same thing here in Germany. Why are these politicians coming after you? Why are they trying to destroy you?
I think there are many reasons. First of all, they want our land. And like you in Holland are kind of the example what politics want, or
right.
Politicians want. They want our land to build industry, houses. I don't know, for refugees, whoever. I don't care for what.
Right.
But the reason they want it is not really my thing to say. But we are the people who we don't work in a co-working space, and we don't have a startup or what. We produce the most important thing in the world, food.
Right.
We are here since generations, and they're trying to get rid of us, and we can't let that be. We have all kids. I have 3 kids. I want them to do my job in the next generations.
Yeah.
So I just pause for a second here. If you note, he's talking about the same things I was, isn't he? Globalism. This is a global agenda, a globalist agenda. It's coming right out of Davos. And of course, the World Economic Forum is meeting next week in their infamous little Davos convention that only the elite are invited to. And believe me, if you're not part of the right media, you ain't getting an invitation. You won't be going. But it's interesting that he's saying farmers produce the most important product in the world. That's food. Because we don't have food, we aren't going to live much longer. And we've seen the effect of famine, not only in Africa in the 20th century, but when it was artificially produced in the Soviet Union by Joseph Stalin, that dictator who killed millions of Ukrainians and Russian people as well in an artificial famine that starved people to death. Mao Zedong in China murdered millions of people, tens of millions of people, by creating artificial famines because of his policies and because of what he was trying to do. So where do you think this is going to go? People who want control, people who want to control people, control the food. And that's what's going on here. Let's listen to the rest of this.
We have people here who are the 14th, 15th generation farming, you know.
Right.
And we are the guys who get up, work 24/7 at all weather conditions, and we are the guys who prepare you with the healthiest food, and we do everything that people want us to do.
Yes.
You know, in Germany, everyone says we have to get rid of CO2. Okay, the only guys who can get rid of CO2, if you think it will kill us, right, are the farmers and the people who own forests.
For us, it was nitrogen, but we all know that it's a lie. It's a pretext. It's a pretext.
It's ridiculous.
And I feel like the general population knows. They support you. I mean, I was emotional watching the truckers, watching the tractors, everybody just come on the road here. I mean, this is of historical magnitude. I keep on repeating myself, but I'm serious. I think this is of historical magnitude, and the people of Germany, of the Netherlands, I think of all of Europe, America is watching. We are all with you. God bless you, and we're here to support you. Thank you so much for talking to me.
You're welcome. Go and talk to the normal people who are in the traffic jam now.
I will. Let's go.
Everybody supports us.
Oh, I spoke to a few people who were stuck and said, "Oh, I'm missing. If I meet 20 meetings, I don't care."
Yeah, exactly.
They know why they're here.
Yeah.
they know that you guys provide them with food.
They're sick of politicians who lie, who are not willing to do what they should do,
right,
to get us a better future.
Yes.
No? They're not doing that.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you.
Yeah. So no, whether it's nitrogen or CO2, it's the same argument that it's creating greenhouse gases, right? And so not only can we not use fertilizer because it has nitrogen in it, and the nitrogen creates greenhouse gases, the cows, through flatulence, farting, are creating carbon dioxide, which is another noxious chemical. And Trudeau has the idiocy to call that pollution. Carbon dioxide's not pollution. And we better just stop breathing because we're exhaling carbon dioxide. We better stop breathing, better stop living, better stop eating, better stop trying to make a better livelihood for ourselves and our family, because we're creating climate change just by living. So maybe we should just get rid of the entire human race. And that's, of course, where this is coming from and to. The WEF and the globalist people, the ones who subscribe to this globalist agenda, are believers in population control and think we should radically reduce the number of people living on the planet. And that's what this is all about. Telling German farmers they're creating too much carbon dioxide, too much farmland. We need to give it to Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab needs your land.
So that we penetrate the cabinets.
Because all of these elitists have got massive houses, mansions that could physically accommodate 100 people. They're the size of hotels, but they live in these massive mansions, and they're belching huge carbon footprints, all kinds of CO2, all kinds of greenhouse gases, flying around the world in their private jets, living in luxury, eating the finest food, drinking the finest wine, and pointing their fingers at farmers who work 10 times as hard as they have ever imagined work to be. They're pointing their fingers at farmers and saying, you need to clean this up. It's your fault we're fighting climate change. The hypocrisy, the gall, is just enormous. That was more time with the farmers, and very, very insightful analysis from Ava in the previous clip when she's really talking about why this is a crisis and how it's all word games. It's all about word games. And believe me, folks, this is serious stuff because we need to continue to eat. And we don't need the globalists telling us what our choice of menu is going to be. So I'm going to leave that with you. I'm going to continue to follow up on what's happening in Germany, because it is fascinating. It's happening in Germany. It's happening in Holland and the Netherlands, Hungary, Poland, and it's happening in Canada. And farmers in Canada will take so much, and they're really going to get angry. And they're going to say, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm going to continue to keep an eye on the Dave Menzies story. Might even, if it's possible, maybe get him on the show next week. But it's fascinating to me because Ezra Levant, the publisher of Rebel News, who's an old friend, is talking about suing, is talking about taking legal action against the RCMP, against Chrystia Freeland, because this is outrage. It just can't stand. This just cannot be allowed to happen. And thankfully, conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is demanding an investigation into how in the hell this happened. How did Chrystia Freeland security gets this out of hand? Did it come from orders on Chrystia Freeland? Did she say, get him? Did she say, don't let anybody that I don't approve of in the media coming near me? Don't let anyone from that kind of media put a microphone in my face. Is that what she said? I wouldn't put it past Chrystia Freeland. I mean, good God. This is somebody whose grandfather was a Nazi propagandist. Shameful. And I am just disgusted with how she has refused to even comment on this story. And if the House was sitting, as it usually is, believe me, she would be getting scrummed by this, and I would be there too. Thanks for watching today, folks. It's always a pleasure. This is David Krayden for Stand on Guard, and I will be back tomorrow with my special guest, Naomi Wolf, Dr. Naomi Wolf, who, of course, you know, wrote many, many significant books on feminism over the years. She became a different person politically during the pandemic when she realized this was all about big pharma making money and selling effectively a bioweapon to the world. And she has become a truth seeker second to none. And I have nothing but respect and admiration for Dr. Wolf. And she'll be with me tomorrow. And I hope you can watch that show. Thanks for watching today.
Hi, this is David Krayden from Krayden's Right and Stand on Guard. Join the resistance. Resolve to resist. Become a member of this station. I've been practicing journalism in one form or another for over 30 years. I've worked in print, radio, and television for a lot of prestigious publications and media outlets. I was an Armed Forces Public Affairs officer. I worked on Parliament Hill. I know how Ottawa works, and I know how corrupt the federal government can be. But you can play a part in opposing Justin Trudeau's government and Justin Trudeau's plans for Canada. You can become a part of the Krayden's Right resistance. Now, I urge you today, please support this station in any way you can. Ring that bell, subscribe, because that ensures you're at least going to continue to be able to watch these episodes. You'll beat the algorithm. But more importantly, I need your financial support. I hate to ask, but that's what I'm doing. I made a decision to pursue independent media because I believed it was the best possible route for me to take as a journalist and as a concerned citizen of Canada. So you can become a part of that. And at only $5, you can become a part of that on YouTube, on Substack, and with Buy Me a Coffee, a one-time donation. But I need your support. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. If you've already done that, if you're already supporting the station, thank you. But if you haven't, make that decision today